At the advent of these conversations about our association with UDA, I visited a very respected member of a party, an old man from Kano. I'll not disclose his name. And Yvonne, I walked into this gentleman's house, and he has a certificate of honor from ODM. I had never seen it in all the time that I have been SG. I saw it for the first time in this gentleman's house. And we sat down, and he told me that we have a responsibility, those of us who have been given leadership of the party, to speak out. Because in the previous election, if you speak to many members of ODM, they will tell you, after the election was called for William Ruto, many people went into depression. Prior to that election, people did not want to speak when they were seeing things going wrong. And you'll be told, when you ask and say, hey, by the way, who's taking care of this? They say, oh, so-and-so is taking care of that. So and then you say, what is our plan? If this happens, you don't need to worry about this. And the silence of the good people within the party is what cost us the election. Because the bad people are louder than us. The bad people are louder than us, and they want to pretend like they are the ones who are in charge of everything in the party.
Who are the bad people in the party?
No, you know them. You know them.
I don't. I'm not a member. Maybe
the members of ODM know exactly who I'm talking about.
Okay.
And these people, they don't scare me. I will say, because of the pain we went through. Yvonne, I was being called by Kenyans. You know, this party has support across the world. I was being called by Kenyans from Auckland. People have been slaving in countries in Eastern Europe. They just want an environment where if they brought their savings home and set up like a small kiosk, nobody will come and take it over. Or if you buy a piece of land, some guy in government, because he's powerful, will not come and grab it, and all your life savings are gone. They were calling me crying, asking me, Sifuna, as SG, how could you people fumble this? This was a layup. This was a straight-on election. How could you fumble it? The lesson I've learned from 2022 is that for as long as the good people, the people who mean well for this country, continue to be silent and to say, oh, maybe let us just leave, Yvonne knows what he's doing or what she's doing. I'm telling you, when it goes south, all of us, including people who never get the mic, including members who have supported ODM kwa hali na mali, but they will never be called to your show. We have a responsibility to speak for those people, you know?
And who are some of those people then?
I've given you the example of the gentleman from Nyando. I will not name him, but he knows himself. He's watching. He has a certificate of honor. That certificate is signed by Raila, not even by the Secretary General of the party. Very few people have that certificate. And he's the one telling me, please, don't be confused by this noise you are hearing from some of these leaders here at the top. Just listen to what the people, the supporters of the party are telling you, and please represent them. I have chairmen of counties. I will not mention them because people will start saying, oh. And they tell me, Sifuna, if it were not for the few of you at the national leadership who are saying we need to reconsider some of these associations because it is hurting us. Yvonne, we have by-elections coming up. We try and talk to candidates. For the first time, people are not scrambling for our ticket. For the first time, I've never experienced anything like this. They are telling me, I want to be in parliament. I love ODM, but if I go with the ticket, I will lose. Because of your association with UDA, not because ODM is a bad party.
It would seem there's a crisis in the party.
This is what I was talking about, the confusion. Let me give you another example, Yvonne. How do people get attracted to political parties? How was I convinced to join ODM? I did not just wake up and decide, oh, this is ODM. You look at the leadership, you listen to them, you talk about, listen to the values and the picture they want to paint for the country that we want to live in, and you are persuaded. Right now, if you want to persuade young people to join the party, it is very difficult because this association with a party that is killing them is always coming up. What do you tell those young people? What do you tell them so that they can be able to join the party? And I was very happy when the party leader proposed this thing he called an intergenerational dialogue. The good thing with Jacom is that he's open. His ideas don't have to be taken for the law. That's what people don't know. Even this proposal that he has made of an intergenerational dialogue, or a conclave, as he calls it, it's a good thing. People just don't know it.
Okay.
The question, let me just finish that point. Okay. The question I want to ask is, are people ready for an intergenerational discussion? An intergenerational discussion is one where you get all those generations to sit here. So there is a guy who I have a lot of respect for. He's an elder in my community. He stands up, he's, I think, in his 80s. Then he proposes that Nairobi National Park should be raised down and we put apartments there. At his age, is he allowed to make that decision? I have an 8-year-old daughter. We should ask her, Mama, do you still want to see lions or the animals at Nairobi Park? She should be the one to tell us, Daddy, we are tired with these elephants. Take them to Kajiado. But you cannot have lived all your life enjoying these benefits, enjoying the park. You've taken your children there, your grandchildren, your wives have gone there and enjoyed that park. Then at the tail end of your life, you come and suggest that we no longer need the Nairobi National Park. Are these people prepared to listen to intergenerational discourse? We have young people in the universities. Some of these people you see here, they went to university for free. Public education was free, and they were being paid. They used to call it sijui boom. I'm telling you, are we offering the current generation of the students in the university the same opportunities that we got ourselves? I was telling these young ladies from the universities, when I went to the University of Nairobi, I used to pay 6,000 shillings for accommodation. Now it's 43,000. We are denying these kids the same opportunities that we got.
Okay, I will come back and we will talk about that intergenerational national conclave in a moment, as perhaps we talk about what the solutions, ahead look like. But just to stay with what's happening within the party, there seems to be a group of younger MPs and younger members of the party. Perhaps yourself, we see Caleb Amisi, Babu Owino. What's going on? Is there a similar sort of schism that you speak of on the national front within ODM? Is there a parting of ways in terms of principles between older members of ODM and younger members? I
don't think the schism in the party is along age groups. It is just amongst people who believe that we should remain who we are, and people who feel, like I said, Baba taught us, you can compromise tactics, but not values. When values start being compromised, that is the schism. There's people who don't have a qualm compromising values. You'll see a member of ODM. We used to be the ones, Yvonne, who used to be tear-gassed in these streets. I have been at the forefront of those things. People used to die for no reason during protests. I was reminding some of them that we would leave the office, we would leave Chungwa House during, even just as late as 2023. And we would be driving down the road, and without touching anybody's property or carrying any weapon, the police would descend on you. The police would descend on you. Can you imagine members of ODM suggesting that we should talk to the police to allow goons to protect the state? Can you imagine?
And yet we've not
That's what I'm saying.
And yet, as Secretary General, and perhaps, a spokesperson for the party, besides the party leader, we've not seen ODM speaking very openly in terms of even statements against the killings, against the abductions.
But that is not factual. Yvonne, that is not factual, because the spokesperson of the party, as you have rightly said, party leader and myself, we have spoken repeatedly, including recently, when the president issued this so-called shoot in the foot order. The party leader, Raila Odinga, issued a statement on this matter. Personally, I got to a place where I asked myself, how many times can you condemn police brutality? How many times can you send thoughts and prayers to the families? We were seeing in your news here, a family in, I think it was Kirinyaga. They were burying the fourth person who's been shot from Kirinyaga. How many times can you condemn something without saying, this needs to stop? And so I get to a place where I decide that even for me now, I need to vacate that space, because, sometimes they say Sifuna talks too much. Can we allow these people who support this association with UDA to explain what RUTO is doing?
One of the people that is supporting that arrangement with UDA is your party leader,
That's what I'm saying.
Odinga.
He has spoken. You have to distinguish, because for you,
is he then saying, what you're saying?
You want to get me in trouble with my party leader,
no,
but I'm not going to allow you.
No.
Raila Odinga issued a statement as recently as when Ruto spoke on this thing of shoot to kill. When he was in Homa Bay with the president, he said the same thing. Stop abducting young people. He has never stopped talking about those things. But there are other leaders in the party. This confusion is brought about.
But yet,
just a minute.
No, hang on, Senator. With all of that, he makes statements publicly. But yet still continues to pledge support for this very same person.
For different reasons.
Until 2027.
For different reasons. That's what I'm saying. You have to distinguish the reasons.
So what are those different reasons?
The different reasons, and this is where we began. This is where we began with the initial arguments for this association, the sustenance of life and the sustenance of the democratic state.
Now, if that's no longer
no, just let me
happens,
explain.
then...
Let me explain. We can sit here until the morning. I'm not going anywhere. Today is Tuesday. I will tell you everything you want to hear. Listen, we got to a place where there was a real danger of this country falling into an undemocratic state. When you see the army in the streets, people imagine that the things we see happening in Tanzania and in Uganda cannot happen in Kenya. We are not special, Yvonne. These things can happen to us. The things that happened in Tahrir Square, the things that happened in Sudan, those things can happen here. And we got to a point where we were seeing the deployment of the army in the streets. And when that state collapses, when the army takes over, the first thing they do is to suspend this document. We will not be here talking like the way we are talking here. We will dissolve all the institutions, including parliament, including the judiciary. Everybody goes home. There is a general in West Africa, I was seeing in the news yesterday. He has just abolished the constitution and extended his own term, and he's saying he will be president forever. It has happened next to in Uganda. Do we love our democracy enough to make compromises? I think that is a valid argument. What I am saying is, at some point, a decision has to be made that the price we are paying for this association as a political party is too high, and that's the point that I am making. That's not to say there are no arguments for the association, you know. And me personally, I thought, honestly speaking, that Ruto having been through what he went through with Gen Z, would give opportunity for the implementation of this document. But there has been no commitment, no desire from his side to implement any of the articles here. None whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is the reason I personally said this thing is dead. All
right. You said there can be arguments for the association.
Correct.
What would those be?
I have just made them. I have told you about the sustenance of a democratic state, that Baba believes we should have a constitutional opportunity to remove Ruto democratically. How do you get there? That is the conversation. How do you get there?
Well, the reason I'm asking that is because you say there are arguments for that association.
Those are the arguments.
That's fine.
Yes.
But in the same breath, you say it is not working.
Yeah,
the sustenance of life. So therefore, can there still be arguments for this association?
Because
you're saying it is dead?
You ask me questions regarding the position or the view of my party leader. I explain to you the arguments for, you know, and I also give you my arguments against, because my sincere belief is if we are sustaining a democratic state so that we can all elect somebody or kick somebody out democratically, can we all get there? Can we all get there? Because if you go by the rate, this regime killed over 40 people on Sabasaba. If you do that math, and we have another maybe 800 days to go, 800 times 40, that's what? 320, isn't it? People. I'm at 32,000. Actually, 32,000 people will die before we get to the election under the guns of this regime. Those 32,000 people will not get an opportunity to kick William Ruto out. I gave the example of Albert. Albert is in the ground now. You cannot tell Albert to wait for you in 2027. If Ruto kept his word, then it would be easy for some of us to buy that justification for the sustenance of the democratic state, you know? So when you have leaders, a person in the position of a head of state, telling the Kenyan police, and you know the Kenyan police, they have a history, telling the Kenyan police now you are allowed to shoot people. You have his acolytes like Nelson Koech saying, in fact, don't shoot in the legs, shoot to kill. Those instructions permeate to these junior officers. And I'm telling you, Yvonne, if we do not have another way, we will lose more lives before we get to 2027.
So what is...
That is what I'm saying. I was hoping to get into this intergenerational dialogue with you.
Yes, now we can talk about that, because now we want to understand what the way forward looks like.
Yes.
Intergenerational national conclave. Some think that dialogue, again, we've done that before. We've spent hundreds of millions of shillings on dialogue. And in fact, it was dialogue that got us the Constitution of Kenya 2010, amongst so many others. So do you see dialogue as the way forward? What would be the structure?
First, let me concede. Let me concede that I get the sense from the Kenyan public that there's a lot of what you can call dialogue fatigue. But it is also an unfair characterization, because you yourself have said that there are good things that come out from people talking. Now, the way that I have understood the proposal that has been made by Raila, and as I told you, he has not said that that's what the country must do. You see, the problem we have in this country is that there's people who have ideas, there's people who will suggest solutions to problems, then there's people who just sit there and saying, no, that cannot work. No, this cannot work. But you don't give us your own ideas. He has said that he welcomes people who can even perfect that idea so that it can be able to achieve what people want to achieve with it, you know? I have personally told him that I would want that intergenerational conclave or discussion or dialogue to be proper intergenerational, like the example that I have given you. And one of them is, are we treating other generations fairly and equitably? Are we giving the opportunities that we ourselves enjoyed at a good education, at health, at all the other services to the other generations? There are people who remind us and tell us that before I came to this city, they used to drink water from faucets in the CBD, that Nairobi used to have water. What happened? Which generation will we ask what happened? That generation needs to come to that table and we have that conversation. Now, let me tell you how I understand how this thing would work. First of all, it takes me back to the discussion around Article 1. The most powerful article, I believe, in this constitution is Article 1. Because Article 1 gives two options for exercise of sovereign power after it has said that all sovereign power belongs to the people. All sovereign power belongs to the people means the judiciary gets its power to make decisions about us from us. The executive gets power from us. The legislature gets power from us. How is it possible? And the problem with this article is that that power, the right to exercise our sovereignty directly, is given to all of us. So there cannot be a section of you sitting somewhere and saying, we are exercising Article 1. So Baba is asking, how do you get all of us to talk? How? And it took me back to the early 2000s when we were asking ourselves, we know how to amend a constitution, but we don't know how to replace it. There is no mechanism for us to say, because the sovereign power is ours to give ourselves a new constitution, how do we go about it? Do you remember the conversations about, what was it called? There was a term that was used there about the constituent power of the people and having a constituent assembly that can then say we are removing this constitution from ourselves and we're giving ourselves this one. That is what we need for us to be able to have a conversation that will be binding on all of us. And if the people meeting at this conclave say, by the way, the power to the judiciary is ours, we are taking it back, so whatever decisions we make here will not be subject to the judicial interpretation or intervention. And then we say, Parliament, we are withdrawing our sovereignty. All of you guys go home. Executive, we are withdrawing our sovereignty. Go home. We want elections in the next 6 months. It's just people are limited by their own imagination. Because that article is the most powerful article here in terms of when it comes to the power of the people. How do we exercise it is what people have not figured out. So if somebody in the position of Raila makes a suggestion as to how people can exercise that right, you are free to criticize. You are free to offer an alternative way. You are free to better the suggestion because it is a conversation about all of us. All of us must do it or it cannot be done.
And if the people decide they don't want
if the people,
dialogue?
You cannot force them. You cannot force them. I famously was a member of the first NADCO team, if you remember. And I'm also a very impatient man. And I grow wary of talks that go nowhere.
Because they've seen that.
Correct.
NADCO
we went, I remember, but let me make my point then explain something. When people are in the sort of crisis that we are very impatient. We want results.
Yeah.
We don't want to be taken round in circles. And I've said I get the sense that there is dialogue fatigue in the country. I was a member of the initial NADCO team. And when I realized that we were just going to Bomas to sit with Boni Khalwale there to drink tea, I thought that I could make better use of my time. And people who are more patient, like Kina Kalonzo, when they were brought on board, the NADCO conversation is not an entirely useless conversation. It is out of NADCO that we now have an IEBC that is not as bad as what we would have had because it is a product of bipartisanship. The initial panel that was chaired by Nelson Makanda had been assembled by RUTO exclusively. And I was on Citizen TV saying that if you have a body as important as IEBC, you cannot allow one player to be the one determining the referee. We have gotten this IEBC now out of that process. NADCO was not entirely useless. So when these people say, oh, you know, this talking does not produce anything, it is not true. You yourself have said, this document, the Constitution, is a product of Kenyans sitting as a Constituent Assembly and talking.
And so there's some that say, yes, there's talk fatigue. Talking got us a constitution, and that what they want is action.
Yes.
Just implement the constitution, follow the law, because it's all there. In fact, that the constitution has the solutions to everything you're saying in terms of, you know, providing equal opportunities to all Kenyans, regardless of age and region. And so what do you say to those that say...
This is what I say.
That say, just implement the constitution.
This is what I say.
Follow the law.
This is what I say.
There's nothing to discuss.
This book here is just a book. It's just writings on paper if you lay it down like this. The way you breathe life into constitutional rights is to exercise them and to defend them. They say that the price of democracy or freedom is eternal vigilance. You must wake up every day to validate these rights. If you just leave this piece of literature there, it's just another book. So those who say, oh, we just implement the constitution, if it is not being implemented, what do? You must try every available avenue to make sure that it is implemented. Today, Yvonne, there are friends of mine from the Kenya National Interface team led by a gentleman called Aoria Chok. This gentleman pointed me to a part of the Constitution that many people ignore, and it is the preamble of the Constitution. Because this Constitution from its beginning to an end, it is there for a reason. The preamble of the Constitution points to the frame of mind of Kenyans when they were passing this document. And the most critical one, this is where when people talk about, we need just to implement, first you need a government that understands why Kenyans gave themselves this Constitution. I want to read to you this preamble as to why we chose this document. It says, recognizing the aspirations of all Kenyans for a government based on essential values of human rights, equality, freedom, democracy, social justice, and the rule of law. The only government we wanted was not the one that is coming to build us highways and stadiums and markets. It was one that was coming to build a government based on essential values of human rights, equality, freedom, democracy. In 2027, if we get there, you have an opportunity to revisit our aspirations as a nation, to build a government that respects human rights. Let nobody tell us about shiny things like stadia and sijui roads and what. I am telling you, personally as Sifuna, we want a government that will respect the rule of law, that will respect human rights and the dignity of the people of Kenya.
Does this government do that?
This government surely does not. This government is killing the people. This government does not listen to the people. This is the worst possible government. If you go back to the spirit of the Constitution in 2010, this is the worst possible government we would have envisaged. It's the direct opposite of what we wanted. So I hear William Ruto has succeeded in bullying these guys in the opposition, Kina Kalonzo, into, he says, these people just say one term, they don't have any agenda. I want William Ruto to know that his removal from office is a national priority agenda. It is the only agenda because his government is totally opposed to everything that this Constitution stands for. And I want these people to be bold. Don't be bullied. You don't have to, he wants to push you into a corner where you're discussing markets. Tell Albert Ojwang about markets and roads. In my ranking, removing Ruto is top. It's even higher than getting a second terminal at JKIA or dualing Malaba to Mombasa.
And how would we do that?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's talk about that because there's those calls for one term.
Yeah.
The president, on the other hand, calls those calls unconstitutional.
They are not unconstitutional.
So,
these terms are granted by the public. I've told you we are the sovereign. Yeah. If we decide to give you one term, we will give you a term. If we decide to give you half a term, we impeach you. I mean, it is in the Constitution. And you can also resign midway from public pressure. We have seen it happen. We have seen it happen that governments have collapsed under the weight of the pressure of the people. Because once people have rejected you, they have rejected you. It is a constitutional way to remove somebody midterm. Yeah.
And one of those would be impeachment, as you said.
Correct.
Do you think Parliament is sufficiently independent to do that if that is what the people would ask them to do? And you sit in the Senate, which would be a very important player in this.
Personally, if he was sent to the Senate, I would impeach him without blinking. The way the other one who was sent to us was impeached.
You once said that if President Ruto is re-elected, you will find another country to go to. Is this still your position?
First of all, you are a media practitioner. Don't share things you've seen on social media. In my position as SG and Senator of Nairobi, everything I say, everything, there is a clip. It's on video. It's like these things I've said here today, I cannot deny them because I have said them on TV. If you show me a video of me saying that, because I've seen that thing circulating in social media, and I'm waiting for any Kenyan who has that video to show me.
So you wouldn't leave?
I will never flee my own country. We will die here. We're not running away. It is our responsibility to fix this country. And I'm telling you, we must play our part. We must play our part in fixing this country and revert it back to what people envisaged it to be when they were passing this constitution. This document did not come easily. We are the generation who were born under Moi Yvonne. I lived my entire life under a dictatorship. The first time I got an opportunity to vote, I went to vote Kanu out. I am not going back to that life, where you are sitting with your father and he has a Land Rover and he runs into the sugarcane farm to hide. And he has done nothing, because those guys you would explain when you are in committee. You explain when you're already there. So you would rather just hide. We are not going back there.
Where are we now, do you think, with the state of civil liberties, Article 37 of the Constitution, which is one of the key points of the 10-point agenda. There is an impression by some, perhaps, that Kenya is worse off on the civil liberties front. After the signing of the broad-based arrangement, what's your assessment of where we are now? Because all of those things that were promised have obviously not been implemented. So where are we now? What is your assessment?
It is also an unfair accusation saying that things have gotten worse since the signing of this MOU. This MOU was signed in March. Was it March? Just let me confirm. Yeah, it was February of this year. Yvonne, I was in the streets in 2023. William Ruto killed people in 2023. We lost over 70 protesters in that protest in 2023. There were kidnappings, there were disappearances, there were abductions prior to the signing of this document. This document was supposed to put an end to it. That was our expectation, that we would put an end to some of these egregious violations of the Constitution. I've seen the President of the Law Society of Kenya on your news bulletin decrying the use of this terrorism law. Ask members of ODM. We were charged under terrorism law. TJ Kajwang, the member of parliament for Ruaraka, was charged with treason. Yeah, so these things, we have seen them. Uhuru Kenyatta, when he was president, they passed a law to amend the security laws. You were there, and they were passed forcibly in parliament. We have been charged with all sorts of ridiculous things. Ask Babu Owino how many things he has been charged with. And they used to use this thing. It was just open abuse of process. They used to use this thing of Kamata Friday. All our leaders, Kina Florence Mutua, they spend time in Pangani. And then they used to come with this application, which they are still doing now, for pre-trial detention, saying, oh, we have arrested Sifuna, we need 21 days. Knowing very well they will not charge you with anything. It is a collapse of even the office of the DPP, because if you look at the Constitution, the office of the DPP was supposed to be a filter. A filter that it is a layer of protection for the citizen, that if they don't, the police don't satisfy the DPP, that they can actually get a conviction from the charges and the evidence, he will not prosecute you. But these days, the DPP is just a conveyor belt for these charge sheets that are written in police stations. So today they'll write a charge sheet saying Sifuna is being charged with terrorism. And the judiciary, which is supposed to be the vanguard of the people, they know, all these judges know the games that are being played by the state, you know? They know the games that are being played by the state. I remember when they were deporting Miguna, there is a judge in Kajiado who, when Miguna was presented before them, I think it was a magistrate, he said, but I am aware the High Court in Nairobi is waiting for Miguna. Can you take him there? That is the sort of judiciary we expect, because that's the last, if the judiciary collapses, then we're all done, you know? The judiciary collapses, we're all done. So when I hear the CJ, who I have criticized repeatedly, first for going to drink tea at State House, because she has refused to keep the separation of powers. Then recently by saying, oh, people who attack the judiciary or burn buildings are terrorists. She's the originator of this, all these problems. She knows there's a crime called arson. She went to school. She knows there's a crime called arson. If somebody burns down your house, you charge them with arson. Terrorism is a totally different issue, you know? So we are in a bad place. We are in a very bad place as a country.
And moving forward, do you think any of the others who are presenting themselves for possible leadership in the country as we go forward, because it's very clear we're in a pre-campaign, if not, full campaign season, they've organized themselves under the United One Kenya opposition. I'd like us to maybe talk about each of them.
Yeah.
So there's Dr. Fred Matiang'i, who has expressed interest in the top seat in the country. What do you think of him as a solution going forward?
First of all, as a leader of a political party, I am inclined to think of myself first. I must think of ODM first. ODM has not run out of leaders. ODM has not run out of ability to produce presidential candidates. So why are you sending me there? You should have started with my own political party.
Let's go.
But I will tell you this.
We'll get to ODM. We will get to ODM.
My view about 2027 is that there will be no room for sentiment. The project of removing William Ruto does not allow for sentiment. We will not work with angels. There are no angels. Even Sifuna is not an angel. I have my faults. I'm not a perfect human being. But the national priority project of removing William Ruto does not allow for sentiment. So Dr. Fred Matiang'i has his faults. And, that's why I said, I referred you to this preamble. We must all agree that we are going back to a government that respects the rule of law, human dignity, democratic governance, all of those. And I am happy that everybody who has declared to be president is being examined on their record. Is being examined on their record and their history. And this is the thing that we missed out in 2022. Because they say a leopard never changes its spots. Your history is who you are. If you are died in the wool Kanu hawk from the 90s, Yvonne, when we were kids, when multi-party was coming, I was about 10 years in 92. They used to tell us that if you flash the two-finger salute, they will cut one finger. Who are those people who are telling us those things? These Kanu youth wingers here who are in power now. From that time. So examine the history of everyone. Fred Matiang'i has his faults. But if he's going to help us remove William Ruto, so be it. So be it.
Former Deputy President Gachagua?
He is impeached. He cannot run. I don't understand why people talk about him as a viable candidate. The Constitution says once you are impeached, you cannot run.
As kingmaker? Is he someone you would work with?
I don't know about kingmaker. Let me tell you about my view of Gachagua as in terms of value proposition. The value proposition for Gachagua, for me, from an ODM perspective, is that he is taking away votes that helped beat us in 2022. For as long as he's taking away votes from Ruto, I don't care where he takes them. He's not giving William Ruto. Are you getting my point? Because for me, I still believe ODM has the best chance. If Yvonne, Raila Odinga were to get the exact same number of votes that he got in 2022 in 2027, and William Ruto loses Mount Kenya, Raila Odinga will be president. That's how I see it as SG. So for me, the story about Gachagua, and by the way, there's inordinate attention to Gachagua, including in your bulletin today. There is a cabinet secretary crying about Gachagua. I don't know how I can explain this from two perspectives. First of all, as a senator, once you have impeached someone, that's it. Number two, as a lawyer, there's a rule called against double jeopardy. So you all know he's a tribalist, right? That's the reason why we impeached him, right? So how many times do you want us to impeach him? I was shocked. Members of the National Assembly who have constitutional oversight over Gachagua, they have already exercised that oversight by impeaching him. They adjourned their house to discuss a private citizen. A private citizen that they have already impeached. How many times can you impeach someone? So now he paid for his crimes. He can do whatever it is he's doing out there. If he crosses the line, because there are limitations to the freedom of expression, if he crosses the line, arrest him. I just hear people complaining, why don't you arrest him? Why don't you arrest him and charge him? You know? So for me, really, that is Ruto's funeral. Pahali walitoana, mimi, I was not there. He has told us long stories about how he selected him or MPCG voted. We were not there. From an ODM perspective, as SG, me, for as long as Ruto's votes are being scattered, that's all I care about.
So open to working with anyone because that's the primary goal, and you say there is no room for sentiment.
No room for sentiment.
So ODM as a party,
Edwin Sifuna.
Would
me as Sifuna. You have asked me a question as Sifuna.
And now I'm asking
you. Should know,
and now I'm asking you as Secretary General.
Yeah, so let me tell you how Secretary General works.
Yeah.
You only speak for the party after a meeting of the party. This is not a meeting of the party. After we have a resolution of the party, I will read the resolutions. But I'm telling you, me, I see the opportunity as a leader in the party. Yeah, I see the opportunity for my party. If you run anyone in the leadership of ODM, they will win this election.
Before I get to viewer questions, by the way, the hashtag is The Explainer at Citizen TV Kenya. Where are we? There we are. And at Yvonne Okwara. I want to ask you this. Do you believe that Raila Odinga is still the man that will lead the party? Because you've talked about values not being the same. You've talked about the direction being different. You've talked about blurred lines. You've said a lot about what's happening with the party. You not supporting the broad-based association or arrangement, him doing that, him supporting President William Ruto, whom you've had some very strong sentiment and opinion about. Yeah. Do you believe that then Raila Odinga is still the man that can steer the party in the right direction, in the direction it was always intended to go? Is he still the man that is the bearer of the values of ODM? I
think so. I think Baba's heart is in the right place. The explanations that he has taken me through, justification, and I've taken you through them throughout this show, on the need to sustain the democratic state, on the need to have opportunity to kick William Ruto out through a democratic process, and so on and so forth. Those things, they make sense. I am holding out hope that we will make the right decision by the people, because Baba has always been the people's champion, and he will never abandon his people. Mzee will never abandon the people. So I believe, and that's why I told you at the beginning of this show, that I have not given up. And the day that I give up, I will tell you. So I believe that he's still the leader.
Okay, let's get this question from X. Well, I still call it Twitter. Age is showing, obviously. On X, there's Okello Kevin, who asks whether you would still be firm and bold to correct and oversight the government if you get a pie of a cake in the KK regime, either as legal advisor or as a minister. And so this would be a question. If, because like you say, some people were called individually. Yeah. If you got the call today from President William Ruto to serve in the government directly, would you accept that call? I
think it would be very foolish for anyone to join this government, knowing full well that this government is going home in 2 years. I can just wait to establish a government of the people in 2027, and I'm sure the people of Kenya will give us all those positions. In a few years' time, Yvonne, you know, you cannot offer me anything because I've seen the future. What will you offer me?
What is the future that you've seen?
The future is that in 2 years' time.
Well, that's, yes.
In 2 years' time.
Right.
In under 2 years. If we have suffered for 3 years, surely, you want to tell me that you can join this government now?
In 2 years' time, you also have to go for the election.
Yes.
Yeah. Your term will come to an end as senator.
Correct.
Yeah.
My time will come to an end as senator because I believe it is the people of Nairobi, it is their preserve to decide whether I'll get re-election or not.
Yeah.
I am trying to do my job in the Senate every day to be able to make a convincing argument that I should be given a second term as a senator. But the people of Nairobi, in their sovereign might, can decide that, Sifuna, you go and rest or go and do something else. I mean, that is within their power. So me personally, because I have very strong feelings about this regime and how it has treated the people of Kenya, it would be impossible for me to work with William Ruto. It is not possible.
Okay, let me get some more questions from our viewers this evening. Here we are from Francis Odi. Please ask Wakili whether they're in government or not, because I believe he's being used by the ODM party to massage its supporters not to think that they're in government. So are you...
I don't know how many times a question can be answered. It has been asked so many times, it's becoming ridiculous. How many times can you answer a question, Yvonne?
So you've got these 4 individuals who are all not just party members, but held high positions.
Agreed.
In the party, still claim to be members of the party. Now, they're not just in government, but they're running very key sectors: treasury, energy, mining, cooperative societies. It would appear that ODM is not just in government, but is running government. Do you understand why this question would continue to come up?
I understand.
And you have your party leader expressing full support for the current administration.
I do understand because of the presence of members of ODM within cabinet. There's 4 of them in that cabinet. They are not there implementing the ODM manifesto. They are not there implementing the ODM manifesto. If it was the ODM manifesto,
we've also heard.
Go on, allow me to answer.
We've heard, by the way, that the manifesto, and these are the things that we're now hearing.
Yeah.
But the manifesto for ODM and UDA were not that different after all, and now we are in it. So I mean.
But you are a journalist, Yvonne, and you covered the elections. You knew that there were different philosophies. Why is John Badi not paying Kenyans the 6,000 we promised every month if he's there to do ODM bidding? We promised Kenyans that if we formed government, we would pay them a sustenance of 6,000 every month. Can he start paying so that we know that he's implementing ODM's manifesto? He's not doing that. He's not doing that. So please, this accusation is a bit unfair, but I understand where they're coming from because of the perception. And these were senior officials of ODM joining cabinet. The only thing that would make you a governing party is if there was a formal coalition agreement between the 2 political parties, which there isn't, even as we speak today. We've
also seen your party leader meeting key allies in Ruto's cabinet. There's several people that pay courtesy calls. I mean, this doesn't happen with other party leaders, for instance.
But Raila Odinga is not like the other party leaders.
Well, hang on.
Are you saying, I don't want to mention other party leaders?
Let me finish the question.
Because I'll get into
Let me finish the question, Senator. A man who is in a working arrangement or some type of association, as you call it, with this party, a man who's donated, or at least in your words, has had 4 senior members of the party. A man was expressed open support for this administration and for the president until 2027, is also a man we see having meetings with key allies. At the government retreat, by the way, he was present and he made some remarks. Do you understand how that perception, if Raila is meeting key government officials,
I do.
And by the way, he doesn't go to meet them, they come to meet him. All of these things are perception. That is very important.
I understand.
He attends a government retreat. Let me ask this.
Yeah.
In what capacity? Because that's not open to just about anyone.
I agree with you.
There were no others. So do you then understand, you may say one thing about it being on paper, but in some type of working arrangement, ODM is in government and running sections.
I agree with you 100%, and I understand, because politics is perception.
It is.
And I spoke at length that I had given a warning of the PR disaster that was coming just by appearing to sign anything. It doesn't matter what the document said. You are seen there, then people go on sunroofs and start shouting, oh, tuko pamoja, wangapi wanasema tutembee pamoja, because Kenyans will not pay attention to the document. So I agree with you. In terms of perception, it is very difficult for us to explain those things. But I've asked you a simple question. We promised Kenyans certain things. Why are those things not happening if we are in government?
But it would seem...
because it is not our manifesto.
That is fine, but you are now implementing...
Just a minute.
You are now implementing the manifesto of another administration.
Agreed.
Against whom?
Agreed.
You ran in 2022.
This is the point I wanted to make. Everybody who joined government joined the Kenya Kwanza government. I've said this publicly 100 times. They are there to serve Ruto as a president. I cannot, as SG of ODM, call Badi and tell him, oh, by the way, you know, you need to release that money to Kenyans. He can't do it because it is not Nini. So in mature democracies, when you sit down and do coalition agreements, like say what the DA did with the ANC in South Africa, there are concessions that are made on certain policy positions. And you say, for us, we would want you to implement this half of our manifesto, these key issues in our manifesto. That conversation has not happened because we are not in government with them. Umenielewa? Watu walikuwa wanatafuta kazi. And I have asked you so many times, Yvonne, to consider the profile of those people. Where were they in life? At what stage?
You're not being clear about it, which is why, yeah.
Because I know you're a smart person.
No. Well,
I have known you many years. I know you know exactly what I'm saying.
Where were they in life before they took office?
No, at the point of those appointments, when that call came.
Tell me where they were in life. I wouldn't know.
They are public figures. You know where they were.
I do not want to make any assumptions or interpretations of what you're saying if you're not going to say it yourself.
Okay.
Let's take some
Fair
more
enough.
questions, from our viewers. G.E. Okumu says, Sifuna claims that the ODM individuals joined government on their own. His party leader keeps claiming that ODM sent experts to government. How then did they, on the one hand, join government on their own, while on the other hand being sent by the party as experts?
Well, Baba himself has told that story multiple times. And I have explained it here as he explained it to us, that the initial thinking was to have a transitional team at the moment, at the point at which the country was in a crisis, to show up the government and organize for elections. But then these individuals were approached individually by the president. And he is the president. He can call people to his cabinet. And they accepted. And at that point, your choice is whether you disown them or you just say, okay, let them go. Yeah.
And so have you disowned them?
No, we have said they went there as experts. They are still our people. You saw John Badi crying, saying he's still a member of ODM.
Let's take another question online. Levin Opio says, Sifuna is questioning the integrity of ODM members who joined government, but their loyalty to a party greater than loyalty to the people. Were these leaders corrupt only after crossing over? Or is this just political bitterness masked as principle?
First of all, I've not accused anyone of corruption. I haven't, Yvonne. I have explained, you have asked me a lot of questions, and I have answered those questions.
Well, some of the things that you're saying here, there's some innuendo of, where they were, what their
that's not innuendo.
Which is why I'm asking you to be perhaps more
that's not innuendo.
about what you mean.
I have not accused anyone of, what is it called, corruption or any malpractice. I've just said that the stage in which they were in their public life was such that they were more likely to jump at an opportunity such as that. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
After you have exhausted all your elective offices, that's the point I'm making. And it should be clear to everyone that that's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, maybe it's clearer now that you have talked about it. Let's take another one right here. This is from Osano Innocent. Asks Sifuna about the recent sentiments by Gloria Oroba that he's bitter because he wasn't offered a CS position in the broad-based arrangement. You've answered this one already.
Thank you.
And there's quite a few that are similar on that. Yati Anin. Can the good senator agree or deny that he's been in contact with Wamanyoro, hence the hesitant support of the broad-based government? And what does he think of President Ruto's support of Raila Odinga's AU bid, if it had anything to do with the Ruto-Raila developing alliance? So it's two questions in one. Has there been any talks or any overtures from the former deputy president? Yeah,
so I've seen Gachagua twice in my life. The first time we met is at a funeral in Nyeri. You all remember the videos from that. And the second time was when he came to the Senate for impeachment. And I'm used to this sort of accusations because they say that when the hyena wants to eat its children, they accuse the children of smelling like a goat. Gachagua is supposed to be like the boogeyman. Like he's supposed to be the person who they used to scare everybody and say, if you express opposition to the things that this government is doing, then you've been sent by Wamunyoro. It's rubbish, Yvonne. It's absolute rubbish.
Another one. Do we have more? I can read some.
There was a second part there.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yeah, forgive me. Yes, there was the second part to that question. Is it possible to run it again? Just so that we can get it clearly. Yeah, there we are. That talks about, what do you think of President Ruto's support of Raila Odinga's AU bid?
I think that is our host that I've flogged more than sufficiently on this show. And you can just Google Sifuna AU support and you'll see what I said. It is not necessary to rehash all of those things, and that is water under the bridge. I have said on this same table, Yvonne, that we had a perfect, stellar candidate for the position of AU chair, but it was messed up by William Ruto's fumbling of Kenya's foreign policy. That's simple. The vote was a reflection of the thinking of African heads of state about William Ruto. And that has been my position. It will never change.
Okay.
Yeah.
One last question, and then there's a couple of comments which we shall just run through as we conclude. This is from Sitati George. Edwin Sifuna's assertion that Odinga's ethos remains untouched is political theatre at its most cynical. If the association is as toxic as they now suggest, why not take the principled exit? Truth is, ODM is knee-deep in the very mess they decry. Your response?
There is no question there. Is there a question?
No, but your response to that statement?
I have said everything that there needs to say. Haven't I admitted that in my estimation, the association or the proximity with UDA is hurting us? I've already said it. I've already said it. I am not here for theatre, Yvonne. I am not here for theatre. I am here to share my view of or the lay of the land as I see it.
Okay.
Not everybody will agree with how I perceive things or how I view things. Not even everybody agrees that I should say these things. But I've shared my experience with you from 2022. When we were all being told, oh, everything is okay, just keep quiet. So-and-so is in charge. He knows what he's doing. He's the one running this show. And then when things go wrong, we are all there left depressed. Do you know, Yvonne, I had been elected for the first time in 2022 as a senator. But because I was SG of ODM and my party leader had lost the election, I never got opportunity to celebrate. I never got opportunity to celebrate. I was locked up in my house for almost 3 months. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want anyone to call me because I had no answers for the people. I don't want to go through that again.
Let's take the final round of comments and then we close. So Samuel Oworth says, today might be the last time we see SG Sifuna on TV in that position. You can't challenge Baba and expect to survive politically. If Baba has spoken, that's final. Sifuna is trying to compete with Baba is political suicide. Do you want to say something on that before I go to the next?
Yeah, well, I am not here to compete with my boss or my leader and my mentor. And I have said publicly on this very table again that ODM has a lot of talent. It's not only Sifuna who can do the job of SG of ODM.
Okay.
And this position is not mine forever. You know, I have said it. It has been the honor of my life to serve in this position. There are thousands of members of ODM, young people, who can do this job. Even when I was appointed 8 years ago, I was 35 years old. We can find another 35-year-old who maybe can articulate the positions clearer than I do, you know? So the issue is not about positions. The issue is about the country. The issue is about the country. I would be very happy to live in a country, even when I was not SG or senator, but I live in a country that is free, that observes the rule of law, that people obey court orders, that people don't shoot people like chicken in the streets. I would be very okay taking care of my daughter.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was one here. Before we go to those, just hold on that one for a moment. There's one here from Cosmas Otieno who asks, Sifuna, if you're asked to step aside as Secretary General of ODM, would you do it?
I would. I would, because even when I became SG of ODM, I was asked, Sifuna, if we gave you this position, would you be able to do it? And I would say yes. If that same person calls me today and says, Sifuna, I have lost confidence in your ability to do this job, this position is not mine, I would relinquish it. Yvonne, without blinking, I would do it.
Next question. Let's take that. Oh, it's a comment, yeah. Babu Michael says, I'm a staunch member of ODM and only voted for Raila Odinga as president in a general election. The truth is, just as Edwin Sifuna says it, I have never been confused and dishonest with myself than this time round based on what ODM stood for. I want to take another one. I think speaking to that confusion, Octo Kama. Sifuna is sharp, no doubt, but this, we're in opposition, but part of government double talk is exhausting. You can't be the referee and a striker at the same time. ODM's role was to check government, not plug into it. Kenyans are watching. Do you want to give some remarks and some thoughts on?
I think what I want to assure those people who have expressed those sentiments, I have said personally that I believe there is still time to correct the course because we are drawing very close to an election that I personally believe we have a very good chance of forming government and putting in place a government based on these essential values of human rights, equality, freedom, democracy, social justice, and all of those things, and to implement some of the brilliant ideas that we've been articulating over the years. So just like I told you, I've not given up. I don't want people to give up. Yeah. I don't want people to give up.
What would be the last straw for the camel's back? What would that point be for you? Because you say you're in it for a while and you're going to fight for as much as you can. At what point would you make the decision that this is enough? What would have happened?
I think if a decision is taken to formally support William Ruto for 27, that is something that I cannot abide personally. And
so
I'm
a formal
sure,
decision as the party?
I am sure, yes. Okay. And I'm sure everybody would respect that. But because that decision has not been made, that is why I'm saying I'm holding out that there is still time for us to correct course because I personally believe we have a good chance as a political party. I don't know why people are looking at other people, yet we can just look at ourselves. We have been the hope of the people for a very long time. We still can be that hope of the people. I don't know why people within ODM themselves, even when they talk about presidential candidates, they have forgotten that Mzee is still there. The Baba is still there. He has not said that he has given up on politics.
Well, yes, and he hasn't, and I suppose he would want to make the final decision as to whether he wants to run again in 2027. Would you support a Raila Odinga candidate?
100%. 100%. Why would I not? 100%. And I think we would win that election. We would win that election. Because of the math that we have discussed here, and you will agree with me, all we need, Yvonne, is all the votes we got in 2022. You too. And that is something that can be done.
Here is one from George Chalo, I believe. What is your next political move? Because we need you in future politics, he says.
I will be asking...
Will you run again?
Yes, I'll be asking the people of Nairobi to give me another term in the Senate. Yeah. Okay. Yvonne, I feel like this interview is over, but you're just...
No, I'm here. I'm here looking at... What I want to ensure is that as many questions by members of who are watching are answered. Proceed. So that because you are here and we have you here, so let's exhaust as much as we can from them with respect to that. So here's an interesting one. Talk about Nairobi for a minute and how the current governor is doing with respect to running the county that you oversight at the Senate.
Yeah, I think there is a consensus that he has made a hash of it, including yesterday when he was appearing before the Senate Committee on Public Investments to answer to audit queries regarding Nairobi Water Company. There is a lot of disillusionment. For instance, in Ruai Ward, the people there are telling me that they have paid for water connections long time ago and they've been waiting. And even allegations are being made that they are being asked to pay again. And yet those connections are not coming forth. You go to Roysambu Ward, you are told, the entire ward has no ECD class and we have no playgrounds for our children. The spaces that we had hoped to get this playground have been grabbed by private developers. The county is not doing anything. You come to Kilimani, they are crying about the state of the roads in Kilimani. They are crying about the haphazard development, the construction of high-rises that appear to be beyond the limits that have been set by law. There is cries of roads being blocked by mounds of garbage, and there appears that nothing is moving. You have reports from Auditor General pointing a very grim picture of the state of development in Nairobi. I have the highest number of stalled projects in terms of value. Yvonne, you go to Woodley, for instance, the Joseph Kang'ethe Hall stalled. The Joseph Kang'ethe Stadium stalled. You go to City Stadium, stalled. You go to the hospital block at Mama Lucy, nothing is happening. So it becomes very difficult to then say that you can offer any positive report of the current administration in Nairobi.
Let's take one last question now. And this one is, Doc asked Sifuna his position on the continuous rise in fuel prices and his party position on the same. What's Parliament, Senate doing about it?
Actually, that is a very good question.
Yeah, and in line with that, the Energy Cabinet Secretary said today it's all about the taxes. You know, the landing cost of the product is usually low, but that's a tax issue for which...
First of all, there was a very interesting conversation on the rise of fuel.
Yeah.
And these emerging reports that we have taken a loan against the road maintenance levy fund. Yeah. And it is a loan that has to be repaid over 7 years. Now, you imagine a government that has only 2 years on its ticket, committing the country to such loans to be repaid within, 7 years, a time when they will not be in power. And you have somebody who you claim is there to represent ODM defending such a thing. Yet Kenyans are suffering under the burden of taxation, and people who want to restore the dignity of Kenyans are telling us that the first thing they do when they come in is to do away with some of these levies and taxes. Mm-hmm. But then you arrive there and you find that they have all been attached to loans that have been taken by these people, and you have to pay them back. That's why I'm telling you, Yvonne, please, let us not conflate issues. If it was the ODM that I know, that John Badi was representing there, I remember the first time when prices of fuel were proposed to be increased, the VAT on fuel. It was members of ODM very vehemently opposing some of those things. That is the confusion that I'm talking about. Yeah. Even in the energy sector, we are the party that has advocated for a move to 100% clean energy. Then you have the Cabinet Secretary of Energy, who's supposed to be implementing ODM manifesto, standing up and saying he's going to revive the Moroni gas turbine, which is the most expensive source of electricity in this country, diesel-powered generators. That is not ODM. That is not who we are. That's why I'm telling you these people are not there to do ODM's work. We are the party of transparency. When Opio Andai appears before our energy committee and we're telling him, first of all, nobody has a problem with PPPs. All we are saying is that they should be executed in a transparent manner. If we are the party that has been saying we need equity in the country, Yvonne, you have a PPP proposal that comes and tells you that they want to do the national grid. They want to do the national grid, but phase one is shoring up support around Nairobi. When there is 3/4 of a country that is not on the grid, if I receive a PPP proposal and the person is telling me the first thing I'm going to do, phase one, Sifuna, is to take power to Mandera, I will accept. But you can't tell me you are going to show up support in Nairobi. If you look at the spirit of this constitution, even why we have the equalization fund, we needed to bring these marginalized areas to the level of services enjoyed by the rest of us. Even if we are having blackouts 2 days, those people are not on the grid. Can they first be on the grid? Then we all agree that we will be receiving electricity once or twice a week. That is who we are. When you tell me that you want to do a new terminal at the airport and a new runway at the airport, but when I ask you to show me your project proposal, the first phase is not building a new runway. It is going to manage services at the existing facility. You are lying to us. You are lying to us. So these guys, they will come and if you've defended all these things that you used to say should not be happening, then this is the confusion that arises. Yeah.
All right. Close in a minute.
Yeah, so first I want to thank you for this opportunity to have a conversation. I've been away from TV for some time, so I guess I had things to say. And I want Kenyans to understand that the only way to fix our country is to continue to speak about the things that we think are not going right. Political parties are the institutions through which we express our sovereignty. ODM, by the way, I forgot to tell you, is a publicly funded political party. Your taxes also go to support ODM. Although we are not given the amount of money that is due to us, the debt that is owed by Treasury to ODM is now 11 billion. Yet, you are telling me my member is the member of the CS for Treasury. If he was there to do ODM's bidding, he would have paid our money, that 11 billion. He would have paid us so that we are able to do the programs that he left us doing. But he hasn't, because he's a Kenya Kwanza. He's a Kenya Kwanza CS. You know? So, as a country, we have a responsibility to save these institutions. ODM is celebrating 20 years now. This is an institution that you cannot allow to fail, surely. You have invested so much money in this institution. Yeah? So even if Sifuna is the bad one, please, as members of the public who have invested in this political party, as members of ODM who have paid with life, blood and sweat, save this institution. Save this institution so that for posterity, we can use it in future, and future generations can also use it to run government and establish a government that responds to this dream that I have read to you here in the Constitution.